I appreciate knowing that before we even started recording, you essentially said, this movie is not good. It is your fault that I watched it, and I don't want this on my feed. The fuck, man?
Oh, we'll get into that.
Oh. I don't know where I was going with that, but Kevin Smith. You know what's funny? This is the second time, though I would posit in a lot of ways, it's the first time we've talked about a Kevin Smith movie on this podcast, because most of the podcasts pre-2018 aren't great. They're fine, but it's a different time and a different place and a different group of people doing the show. I have found a much more interesting group of people, aside from Mike White and a couple other people, to do the show with, yourself included. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, this is the first time we've talked about a Kevin Smith movie on this show. And on this episode of the Kulturecast, I'm joined once again by my good friend. He's all the way from Wake Up Heavy, and Cambridge and Wishawn, another show, but that's a monthly show. The other show is...
It's kind of monthly right now.
You're like Jack FM, playing what we want when we fucking want it. Yeah. Your friend and mine, the host of Wake Up Heavy, Mark Begley.
Simple just shit itself.
I was expecting something Michael Park said, but it would have been said more intelligibly than mumbled. Like, I don't know if you watched the making of this movie, but he mumbles a lot.
Yeah, that John Goodman quote kind of sums up my consensus of the movie.
So we're going to be talking about Red State on this episode.
What is this, man?
It's like Craigslist for people who want to get fucked.
I thought Craigslist was Craigslist for people who want to get fucked.
Right. We're getting laid, boys. She wants all three of us at the same time.
It's gonna be like fucking my mom. This is what happens when parents block porn sites, man. They make socially backwards kids.
Bet you boys want to get up to the devil's business, don't you?
So get drinking, because I ain't drinking alone. And I don't let no man in me unless he's got at least 2 beers in.
Yes, ma'am.
Guys, is that you, Travis?
Welcome, family.
Good evening, Grandpa.
I hate the wickedness of America. Rampant fornication, adultery, abortion, flagrant sexuality. Everywhere.
Hey, you fucking bitch! Let me the fuck out of here!
And it's up to the righteous to curb the spread of this disease. You mind taking children out now? Gonna get grown up in here.
Send the sinner straight to hell. Send the sinner straight to hell.
God doesn't love you. Let's fear him.
Yes, sir. It's dawn here now, but we can be fully mobilized and on site in an hour. Come out with your hands up, and you will not be harmed. Repeat, you will not be harmed.
I think it's the use of the word repeat that makes this work every time.
I never saw the hand of God so clearly in all my born days.
Those government people, they're gonna kill you too. You get down on your knees and pray.
You said this was going to be a simple in and out, sir? Simple just shit itself.
Talk about fear of God. I fear God. You better believe I fear God.
How much you think a cross like that costs?
You mean the dollars or common sense?
So before we talk about the movie, the reason that we got here is because Mark Begley and I, over on his feed and on my feed, but more importantly his feed, talked about M. Night Shyamalan's latest apocalyptic movie, Knock at the Cabin, which is an adaptation of a book. And also, I know you've been watching The Last of Us, so apocalyptic stuff is kind of in vogue right now. Once again, a little bit, maybe not as much as maybe it was at other times, but I figure, hey, let's talk about a Kevin Smith movie that is opposed to apocalyptic. It would have been in a lot of ways. It could have been.
Well, Yeah, I was geared. It's been a while since I watched this. I think my friend Ronnie and I did a movie date with this movie back in the early 2010. So he moved back to Fresno, I think in 2013. And I'm like, well, you're here now. I'm here. I work from home a lot of the time. He wasn't doing much of anything. And I said, let's get together and watch movies. And I believe it was his suggestion. I don't think I even knew that Kevin Smith was still making movies at the time. I figured he had retired. That was what I heard. He was one of those guys that retires and then comes back, retires and comes back, or says, I'm only going to make this amount of movies and stop. Like, you know who does. And
I like that aside, as you know who does. What is he, fucking Voldemort now? We don't mention this man's name.
Might as well be. But so I don't know if we watched it before Tusk or after Tusk, but it was around the time that Tusk came out, because we saw these pretty close in proximity to each other. And I didn't remember that much about it. Red State. I knew it was Westboro Baptist Church type rip. And then the stuff at the end, the apocalyptic stuff. But I was expecting more of that because we were watching it because of Knock at the Cabin. And I'm like, they're not a death cult. This isn't Bee-Boo and Shimu waiting for the comet to come, or who are the fuck those people in the Heaven's Gate people.
Okay, their names forever will now be Bee-Boo and Shimu. I believe you mean T and Doe.
Yeah. I mean,
Bee-Boo and
pardon
Shimu,
me
though.
for not remembering. So they're not a end times cult necessarily, but like many of those fundamentalist groups, they believe we are living in the end times. Like I said, on Knock at the Cabin, they've been saying that for millennia, because all that stuff happens all the time. Fornication, sodomy, this, that, and the other thing that they rail against has been happening since the beginning of time, since the beginning of people. So I was expecting more of that. They don't really talk about, like, they're not prepping for the end times. They're just a weird right-wing fundamentalist group. And it's really only at the end when that unexpected thing happens that we get into that. So I'll say this. Let me say this about Kevin Smith before we go any further.
I was waiting, by the way. I wanted to ask you. You fucking beat me to it. So you did. I mean, you totally did. Because like you know who, I feel like he's a director who people inherently have an opinion about. If you're a movie goer and a movie watcher and you're dialed into movies as much as you and I are, and so many of the people we podcast with, there's no way you don't have an opinion about him. And in a lot of ways, I think he wants that, just like Tarantino, right? Like, have an opinion about me, please.
I think those two are somewhat two sides of the same coin kind of deal. I'm glad, and you could say this about both. I much prefer Tarantino's movies to Kevin Smith's movies. I am not a Tarantino hater like some friends of the show might be. I think I genuinely like nearly every single one of his movies. I definitely can't say the same thing for Kevin Smith, but I'm happy, like with Quentin Tarantino, like with Jordan Peele, like with M. Night Shyamalan, I'm glad these guys are out there making movies. I'm glad for him that he is able to do this by hook or by crook. However, I read a little bit about this film in particular and how it got its funding and how it was, an ongoing project of his for about 4 years from inception to completion. And good on him, I say. He's definitely, for me at least, less obnoxious than Quentin Tarantino. They're both those fast talking, hand moving, this, that, and if you watch interviews with either of them, they're similar in that way. I think Kevin Smith is a little more normal guy, not maybe as pretentious as Tarantino. I'm definitely not as pretentious as Tarantino. I've only watched probably 5 or 6 Kevin Smith films. Clerks, pretty shortly after, at least it made it to video because it was a big thing, like She's Gotta Have It and like Reservoir Dogs. These, again, up and coming guys who just got it done somehow. And then Mallrats and Chasing Amy. And after Chasing Amy, I just completely lost interest. I'm like, this guy is not making movies for me. And I've seen this twice now. I've seen Tusk, which I actually had been meaning to go back and rewatch because it's insane.
Yes, please sign me up. I'll do that. And you know what? Let's just stop this show and do that instead, because the fact that anyone is uttering the words, I have been meaning to rewatch that movie, is music to the ears of the person who thought it was the funniest fucking thing when it came out almost a decade ago. So it's it's a fucking funny movie. It's not I find it to be a very funny movie. Yeah, it's not a good movie, but in a lot of ways, neither is this movie. But you know what? Right. I fucking love this movie. This movie is so. It's if like the guy who made Clerks made a movie about religious people, and it's exactly that. I mean, in Clerks, there's a lot of no punches pulled, and in this movie, there are very few punches pulled, which I think is very off-putting for a lot of people, myself included. But I don't mind a director who goes, fuck your expectations. Here's what I'm trying to do. And I like you've already mentioned, there are few and far between of those directors still around from this time, let alone doing it now, who are just coming into the industry now. I think it's easier in the industry now, given the amount of access to various forms of places to put your media, YouTube, any streaming platform. But like Kevin Smith got it done in the fucking 90s, like in the system, quote unquote. Like nobody gets to do that anymore. That's not a thing.
His movies, for me, are about as subtle as a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that keeps me from enjoying them more than I do. This one, I don't think Red State is necessarily a bad film. And Tusk, as bizarre as it is a lot of fun. And that's why I've been meaning to watch it, because I saw it in the theater. And that was it. So one time when it came out,
the movie the $5 it made from the theater.
Yeah, me and my friend Ronnie went and saw it. I think because of this, and we're like, oh, he's doing something different now. It's not this ensemble of these fucking knuckleheads who I can hardly stand. Just scream like I like Jason Lee and other things. I do not like him in Kevin Smith movies.
Not even in Mallrats.
No, he is obnoxious and annoying to me in Mallrats. I cannot stand that. Like up here acting like the whole fucking entire movie just drove me nuts.
I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
So that is what I think of when I think of Kevin Smith, is like, we're not going to be subtle about anything. And that's fine. And that works. There's no nuance in any of these movies. This Red State might be the one that has actually a little bit of nuance in it.
I just say this might be the exception that proves the rule.
But you're going to have to dig. I mean, it's not a nuanced portrayal of everybody's. I don't care if any of these people die. I don't care if the fucking kids that get kidnapped die. I don't care if the young people in this church die. I don't care if the ATF people die. And for the most part, spoilers, they all do. John Goodman is maybe the only decent person, if you can call him that. That makes it out.
To say,
well, he doesn't want to go along with the order to just annihilate them. So for me, that's a decent guy. Like because of Waco and because of these other things,
right?
Just make sure there aren't any survivors, so there are no witnesses to claim we fucked up. Or
doesn't that feel like the U.S. government, though? I mean, as cynical as we all may want to believe we are, like, I don't know. Like, okay, so Kevin Smith and me first, because I do want to get my moment of zen with that. I saw Clerks when I was 15, 16, the perfect time, right? But I saw Dogma first. I saw parts of Dogma in 2000. There's a very famous story in my family of my grandfather and I went to Blockbuster together. And the mistake was sending me and my grandfather Blockbuster together with nobody else, because we would just rent whatever. And him and I saw Dogma and said, let's rent that. Look, I had seen Total Recall. I had seen Predator. I had seen all kinds of things because of my grandfather. We would go to a condo on the Texas coast every summer, and we would watch movies that he would bring from his VHS collection. And one of them happened to be Predator. One of them happened to be Total Recall. I mean, look, whatever. Those are classics. Those are good movies. I saw Die Hard when I was probably like 7 or 8. And then, a couple of years later at my parents' house, and we go to Blockbuster, we bring Dogma back and made it about 10 minutes into the movie. Let's just put it that way. The movie. And the funny thing is, this actually happened another time with Mallrats, but it was on DivX. And we were watching Mallrats on DivX at my parents' house. And we got about 5 minutes into that movie, right about when they're standing outside of TS's, it's either TS's house or TS's girlfriend's house. And they're talking to her dad, Michael Rooker. And they're just cursing up a storm, saying fuck and every other, as they would say, pejorative in the book. And my parents turned it off. So that was my exposure to Kevin Smith. Once I got a little bit older and I figured out how to, rent movies myself or buy them myself, I watched Clerks and Dogma and Chasing Amy. I remember seeing Clerks 2 in the theaters with the fucking donkey show. I mean, again, these were movies that spoke to me as a teenager growing up in the mid 2000s, as they were meant to, I think, in a lot of ways. Or, obviously it was made for people your age and my age and almost nobody else, Gen Xers. And then Kevin Smith has maintained his pop culture relevance to millennials as well, which I think that's impressive. I think you would probably agree, being able to kind of be maybe less so with Gen Xers who have gotten older, but definitely millennials who have gotten older and kind of been that in-between gap now. I think a lot of people my age either find those Kevin Smith movies funny or, like yourself, don't care anymore. And I also get it, because the dick and fart joke humor, I think, look, I haven't even seen Clerks 3. So, that gives you an idea of how much I've kept up with Kevin Smith. So I haven't. I didn't even realize there's a sequel to Tusks coming out. It's called Tusks with a $sign. And Moose Jaws is apparently happening. So, okay, great. I saw Yoga Hosers, though.
I did not.
Woof. Well, yeah. Buddy. Well, buddy. You know what? I would actually be willing to revisit that movie, just because, again, similarly to Tusk, it was maligned by the mainstream, and it's like, guys, he wasn't making this movie for you guys anyways, so like, no shit, you don't like it. Like, when Tusk came out, I remember people going, this is the worst movie of the year. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, if a Marvel movie came out that year, that can't be the case, because most Marvel movies around 2014 were pretty bad, guys. Like, they were not the shining beacons on the hill that they were in. Probably from 2018 to 2020 is when Marvel was like peak. And then even it's now kind of diminished in its pop culture importance. So people going, Kevin Smith doesn't make movies for me. Yeah, he's making movies for himself. I think you and I know that. It's pretty obvious. And so people are going to have very strong opinions about it. In a lot of ways, something like Skinamarink is very close to Clerks. Either you get it or you don't. And if you don't, you probably don't like it. And that's perfectly fine. There will be enough people that it does resonate with that will defend it and will like it and will probably and maybe will prop it up enough. Kevin Smith talked to the right group of people at the right time, and they propped up his career to get to where it is now. And good for him.
No, I was going to say, I see that a lot when his films come out is he makes movies for himself and his fans. He has a fan base and they're going to go and watch his movies. They might not like every one of them, but that's who he's making movies for. The people that connect with the humor, the unsubtlety, the whatever.
Pop culture references.
Yeah. I think the most, or the one thing that I've watched the most of his was that comic books show that he had for a while. And I didn't even last more than like a full season of that, but I was like interested in that because of the items that people would bring in and things like that. That hits a certain fascination of mine. But I think, 5 or 6 movies of his I've seen, maybe.
I mean, I've effectively seen all but I've never seen Cop Out. I've never seen Jersey Girl, and I have never seen Clerks 3, which for me, Clerks 3 is a surprising one because I'm a huge fan of Clerks 1 and Clerks 2. I will say the other thing about Kevin Smith that for us uniquely should be mentioned, guy's a hell of a fucking podcaster. Like, has his own podcast network, has been doing the good work of podcasting for as long as we have or longer. As long as the longest person that I know, Mike White, has been podcasting as long or even maybe even longer than Kevin Smith. But Kevin Smith is a good podcaster too, which I think kind of gets lost in all of this, but I don't think it should, because someone who is able to be entertaining outside of his movies, I think is all. I mean, I love those the where Kevin Smith would go and like do stand up. Essentially, I know it's not stand up, but it's him kind of sharing stories from his time in the industry. Those are immensely entertaining, and it's like, okay, so you're an entertaining human being too, which I think in this industry, I think it helps endear yourself to more people than just being, Quentin Tarantino. And I'm the movie guy, but everything else I'm kind of abrasive, and I have some edges that aren't as rounded off as someone like a Kevin Smith is, or people, or even like, or you know what, Kevin Smith's better comparison probably is Robert Rodriguez, because like I mean, outside of Rodriguez's personal things that he's like, with Rose McGowan and stuff, Robert Rodriguez always comes off as a pretty likable guy. I know people who have worked with him on things, and they've said that he is a very approachable, nice person. So I kind of, maybe that's a better comparison, but I think Tarantino and Rodriguez obviously and Smith are all in the 90s film crew of, people who were doing it their way. So all of that aside, Red State is a fucking weird movie. In every sense of the word. It's a movie that's essentially 3 movies. It's a movie that at times has a lot to say, and I think in a lot of ways doesn't know how to say it very well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it also is an interesting assessment, reassessment, and kind of satirical in the pitchest black sense takedown of the religious right and the government, whichever direction they seem to be leaning at the time, doesn't seem to be of the importance. It's just the government without a political swing, just the government as the faceless entity we all believe it is. No political swing required to justify that. I think it's a very satirical takedown of the two, but it's an intense movie, I think, is the thing that I maybe had forgotten, because there's about a 20-minute stretch of this movie from when the moment the kids get captured to the moment when John Goodman and crew roll up in their ATF wagons. That's just intense. You have Michael Angarano just running around and shooting people, and it's fucking intense. And it's shot in a way that's meant to make you feel like you're there. And if you didn't tell me Kevin Smith directed this movie, I would not ever guess it was him. But I think that's the success here, is that he's able to so chameleon-like travel in circles of things that he clearly does like, because there are things here that we can point to other movies that are reminiscent of this. And I'm sure we'll talk about it, because the other thing that we haven't mentioned here is this is the first time that Kevin Smith made a horror movie, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, he calls it that, and I don't
know what else you would call it.
See
right?
that?
Most generic term to use would be horror movie, but I think it's horror thriller more than it is horror
I don't
movie.
even, yeah.
Maybe thriller horror movie, even to isolate the horror away. I think what Kevin Smith does really well, and that this is the thing that none of us really realized when he was making the movies he was making, his movies don't really suit genre very well. Specific genre boxes, because one might say Tusk is a horror movie. I guess like
that for me, that falls more into horror than this does. I, again, read those things and he's like, oh, I'm making a straight out horror movie as my next project. And I'm thinking, okay, I remember watching this a while back. What's the horror element here?
I mean, real life horror again, like, okay. Cause
but even then it's more of a, I wouldn't even say thriller. It's almost more like a political, for some reason I keep thinking of Dog Day Afternoon just because that it has a kidnapping aspect to it and it's tense and all that stuff. But I don't know. I just don't buy the horror title for this.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I don't know what else to call it. Like, I guess you could call it, and honestly, the way I looked at it rewatching it, so the setup of the movie is, again, obviously it's Waco-esque, right? It could have just been like a docudrama, because it almost is. Like, in a lot of ways, there are scenes that are shot that feel like a recreation of something. Like they're trying to recreate Waco or like evoke Waco. And like,
it's Waco crossed with Westboro Baptist.
Right. Like what would happen if Waco took place where the Phelps family were hanging out? And obviously, you know, they pay lip service to the Phelps in this movie. They say, you know, oh, they're a bunch of fucking, you know, screaming, wailing children, but they're toothless. Like they don't do shit.
Yeah, they're not terrorists.
Which I think is like
hoarding guns. Right. I think is the distinction here is they don't hoard guns.
Yeah,
this group does.
They're sayers, not doers, right? They're not actually taking the action. And I think it's really funny, and I think it's really smart to have that line in your movie where it's like, no, these people this is taking place in the world where these people do exist. We just are pointing out like the US government sees them the way that we should all see them, which is a bunch of just screaming children trying to get your attention. They're not actually going to do anything. And they never did, and they never have, and they never will. Fred Phelps is long dead. It doesn't even matter anymore. They excommunicated his ass from the church the day he died. That's a real thing that happened. I know way too much about Westboro Baptist because I'm a huge fan of Louis Theroux, and the 3 times he went back to visit those assholes in his The Most Dangerous Family in America docuseries, which he went in like the mid 2000s and then the 10s and then even more recently. And like, you can see them getting progressively less and less like the way they talk about him here. They're like so defanged now because the worst thing for these people to get is attention because they don't know what to do with it. And their message doesn't ring very true when they just keep saying the same thing over and over again. Like, we get it. Okay, whatever, fine. Like,
you know, the thing about Westboro Baptist, and I you know, fuck them all, but the one thing that came out when they would protest like a fallen soldiers funeral or whatever, and it's like people would be like, why are you? I appreciated that they weren't just, and appreciated isn't really the correct word, but it just made me think they're doing that thing where it's like this one group is right and everybody else is wrong, instead of that. I think they mentioned Unitarians. Michael Parks mentions Unitarians in one of his bits in his sermons, who, if you've ever been to a Unitarian church, it can be a little bit discombobulating because it's like everything's fine Every religion is leading to the same place type of thing.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Unitarians. It's very much like the opposite of Westboro Baptist, where if you're doing any of these things that are laid out in the Bible, you're a sinner and you're, fallen in God's eyes, or however you want to put it. But it just made me think of the hypocrisy that goes on when people quote Leviticus to condemn homosexuals. And it's like, look, you got a whole list of things in that. If you're going to use Leviticus, you need to go through and pick out all those other commandments in there. Are you eating shellfish? Are you cutting your hair? Do you have tattoos? And look at all these youth pastors and these mega churches or these other fundamentalist churches who are all tatted up. That church that Justin Bieber goes to, all tatted up, all whatever, playing the modern music and all that shit. I like that they're kind of dragging that down in the same vein as everything else, as homosexuality, as fornication, all that other stuff that they're decrying. But yeah, you other groups are cherry picking what's okay. How many? I mean, I grew up in a Christian home, went to church all my life, and I would see that hypocrisy too, and think about how many of you all are divorced. How many of you cheated on your spouse? Did you then stone that woman to death? No, you didn't, because we're not dealing with Old Testament law anymore as Christians. That's how it's supposed to be. That's all gone now. Jesus got rid of all that. So stop picking those things from the Old Testament to use for one, and it's usually homosexuality. That's the big one that always gets dragged out of Leviticus and other books of the Old Testament. It's like, you got to drag all that other stuff with you if you're going to do that. And that is the only thing I can think of that groups like Westboro would do. Like, why are they protesting this soldier's funeral? And there's something in there that they're railing against. And it's like, okay, fine. I get that. I understand it. Maybe instead of saying appreciate, I can just say I understand that viewpoint of like, it's all or nothing. You guys don't get to keep picking different things to be okay with. Divorce, cheating on your spouse, all that stuff. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's all ridiculous.
I mean, again, I'm in a lot of ways, I don't agree with anything that they've said, but I do appreciate, like you do, someone who's willing to say what they believe in. I mean, you've marked yourself as an asshole, but at least I know. At least we're all aware.
We know where you stand, and it's firm against all these things, not just this. I mean, of course, they're famous for the one quote in particular, but
they are famous for one thing: God hates fags.
Yeah.
And you know what?
There's a lot of that in this movie.
I was about to say that's all there is in this movie. And I think if for me, that
not just them, but those three fucking kids out of their mouths, like every other word.
Yeah. So
it's either fuck or fag comes out of their mouths.
And I didn't get, I didn't get what Kevin Smith was trying to say about that. Also what I didn't understand, because obviously this, we have the Phelps family, the Coopers, dialed up to 11 here. So obviously, like we talked about, the Phelps family hates homosexuality. They rail against that over, I would think, everything else. If you were to ask old Fred down in hell what he hates the most while he's getting reamed by the devil, it's probably gay sex. But this movie like really goes in that direction and commits to it. And I guess if you're gonna do this way, this is what you do to make it have the most impact is you don't pussyfoot around and pretend and look for something else that they actually don't care about. You make these people care about the things that the actual assholes actually care about. Because as far as I'm concerned, showing it that way, yeah, it's a little ham-fisted because it is, but I think it kind of works. And man, that scene of Michael Parks giving that sermon is fucking horrifying. It's just, you can't look away for the entire monologue. And Kevin Smith is so smart. He has Michael Parks essentially 2/3 in frame, but just in the background, you see the cross and you see the guy, what you think is a person, moving on the cross ever so slightly, just to give you an idea that that this is, you've seen this before if you've seen any of the Phelps stuff. And a lot of people who watch this are probably people that knew about this. So Kevin Smith is once again speaking directly to the people who know what this is about and know what he's going for, and showing like the furthest destination that these people could, again, maybe do what they wanted. I don't want to say the Phelps could do this because they never have. They never did, best anybody knows. But these people do exactly what people, I guess, assume Westboro Baptist was doing or imagine they might be doing. And you know what? Yeah, it is horrifying, but I think it kind of works. I mean, again, it's just very unsubtle. Like that's the thing. It's just like, hey, homos are all bad and they're all gay and everything gay is bad and gay this and gay that. And we're going to kill all the gays. Like, holy shit, Michael Parks. Like the amount of unsubtlety here is shocking. And you know what though? Like, I think what Kevin Smith knows is these kinds of scenes always end up feeling that way. So we'll just lean on it. Like, he doesn't try to do anything differently. He kind of just presents it the way it was at the time, I guess, with Phelps as a real person. Like, yeah,
it's that natural extension of all that talk that those groups do. Okay, well, here's a group that actually does it. They shoot that guy through the top of his fucking head
and flames come out.
Yeah, I think that's the plastic wrap lighting on fire.
That's what the fuck. One of the greatest pieces of imagery in this movie is that fire coming out of the head hole, man. And that's
pretty creepy.
I just like how meticulous they are. Head hole, and they're like taping the top of the guy's head. It's fucking creepy.
And then just dump him right into the basement.
Yeah.
And he just flops down there.
Yeah. I think it's fucking brutal. It's brutal. It is. And we're led to believe with the opening of the movie that they've been just doing this like maybe forever. It would seem that there's been no end in sight to them doing this, because Aben Cooper, Michael Parks, says multiple times, my daddy's daddy has been founded Coopersdale back in 1917. It's like fucking 100 years. So they've probably been doing this for 100 years. Like it kind of is that story of, those families in the middle of nowhere that they kill the travelers by, they eat them, they're all good Samaritans until they stop in and then they kill them. There's a little bit of that here, because again, they're not on the level with what they're doing, but it is then again, like the religious stuff as opposed to just like the hillbilly inbred people. Cause that's the other way you do this, right? Like a wrong turn or Hills Have Eyes. This is like the Hills Have Eyes, but with religious people.
Yeah, that is more of a horror film, but that maybe a siege film is what I get out of this, like Assault on Precinct 13, or even there's a movie called Siege that's pretty fun. It's a Canadian movie. And I guess those fall into the horror category. Kind of going back to that, I'm still trying to wrap my brain around this being a horror film, but you mentioned the monologue, and I gotta admit, I was kind of checking my watch, like, how long has he been going on here?
Okay, so do you like Michael Parks, right?
I like him in doses.
Okay,
see, that was fair. Too much for me. I like him in those bit parts where he comes in and he shines real bright for like a couple minutes, and I mean, he's the Robert. He mentioned Robert Rodriguez and Tarantino have used him that way, and his kids too. One of them's in this movie, and then It's not. Is it the same kid that's in the Kill Bill movies with him, or a different son? But anyway, I know for some reason his son in this movie it didn't ring any bells with me as seeing him and other stuff. But I know that he has at least one actor's son as well.
His son was one of the family members, right? Mordecai, I believe.
His son had the goatee.
Yep.
But I think he has another son that's also an actor. Maybe it's the same guy, and he just didn't have a goatee in Kill Bill. But I know he and his son, or a son, are also in Kill Bill. But yeah, I was sitting there going, "Where's the end time stuff? Let me hear some end time stuff in this speech." And then I thought, "Boy, this has been going on for a while." The kid in the cage and the guy wrapped up, and I was like, "Okay, this movie's only 80 something minutes, so let's get to John Goodman showing up or something."
Well, and that's the
thing. First, you had to have Badger show up, or Badger. Breaking Bad connections in here.
I have seen 0 episodes of Breaking Bad.
So the one kid's mom is Skyler, the wife of Walter White. I'm
Skyler White, yo. I know that much. I'm not that completely out of the loop, sir.
The detective that has kind of a funny voice that gets shot when he finds their Volvo on the compound. He was one of Jesse's low-life friends who would pop up every now and again and be very memorable.
You mean one of the best lines in the whole movie? What's in Italy? It's full of Italians.
Well,
it's full of Italians. Full of Italians. Okay.
Yeah. That guy talks like this. I love that guy, actually.
He has a great voice.
Yeah, he's fun.
I get it.
Stephen Root. Let's not forget Stephen Root in this, getting blown in his car. And
God, Jesus. Oh, my God. Stephen Root looking proper slimy and sweaty.
Yes,
as Stephen Root only he can do.
Almost always does.
Yeah. I was watching Watch Red State, and then my wife and I started watching Perry Mason on HBO. And there he is, front and center in that show. Stephen Root as the antagonistic district attorney, who he has that same mustache, but this time his hair is slicked down. So he looks like a dude in Los Angeles in the 30s. So
right.
That show's very good if you're looking for something good to watch.
I think we tried to watch the first episode, and it was like, this is not my Perry Mason.
Oh, yeah, it's not my Perry Mason either, but that's okay. That was my parents' reason for not liking it. They were like, this isn't like our Perry Mason. It's like, yeah, but this is also like Perry Mason origin stories, Perry Mason, to be fair. It's not an attorney yet.
And yeah, I've caught a few of the old Perry Mason movies on TCM over the last couple of years too, which was like, I didn't know this was a thing. I thought it was just the TV show.
I love me some Raymond Burr. His like old man Perry Mason. Hell yeah. With William Catt. Isn't that the actor's name? The Greatest American Hero plays Paul Drake in those movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But where were we going with this? Oh, I don't know if we were going anywhere with this. Anyways, Perry Mason's good. You should check it out on HBO.
I got us off track with Badger and Skyler. And
oh, right. Well, here's the funny thing. So Michael Parks, for me, is the guy from Tusk. But that's it. Like, and I guess a little bit of From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
Like right at the beginning, right? Which is, I think, to your point, that's the way. And I guess he plays the same character at the beginning of Kill Bill. That's the same guy, right? That's the same character. He dies in From Dusk Till Dawn, but that's the same character in Kill Bill.
Yeah, he's a sheriff in Kill Bill.
He's a sheriff in From Dusk Till Dawn, isn't he?
I haven't watched it in a while.
That movie's
great. They're the ones that show up to find the massacre.
Yeah, and then he's the one that shows up. He shows up at the beginning of From Dusk Till Dawn in the convenience store when they have the woman hostage, and he's like with what the fuck is that actor's name? John Hawkes? Is that him? Yeah. He's in that. It's them two, which is again weird given where their careers would end up. I get it about Michael Parks though, because like I like him in this movie and I buy into it. But I do wish there was more doom and gloom, fire and brimstone, because
Right.
That's what this movie kind of builds towards. And I will say this movie is more or less 2 movies, 3 movies even. Like, the kids go to the compound, they get captured, and then they all get killed, more or less.
Right. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
That they all get killed by, well, one of them gets killed by the group, but the other 2 get killed by the fucking ATF guys. Just like unceremoniously.
Yeah, well, one of them is like
to take everybody out.
When one of them, Michael Angarano, is like, "Is he dead?" Like, yeah, he is. Like, tough shit. It's super weird because, again, like in a lot of Kevin Smith's movies, you're not expecting people to get shot and murdered and killed. But I like that Kevin Smith's sensibilities are, it doesn't matter. This is where this character's story ends, and we're moving on. Because the moment Michael Angarano dies, that's it. Nothing. We don't see him floating. Nothing. It's just, did you kill him? Yeah, we thought it was one of the compound people. Okay, moving on. Movies don't tend to just go forward after the ostensible main character has been shot and killed. But I think the thing that's smart about this movie is they give you an idea when they introduce John Goodman that this is no longer this kid's movie, it's John Goodman's movie. And I think, obviously this is John Goodman's movie. I think overall, I think it's John Goodman's movie. I think it's just weird that it takes like a half an hour to get there because we don't see him for a half an hour. We don't see him until effectively everything has more or less already happened at the compound, short of the ATF showing up.
Which is kind of like Fargo. We don't see Frances McDormand until a good chunk of that movie's already over. And then it most definitely becomes her movie. Yeah. Before it's William H. Macy's, and then it sort of slides over to Buscemi and what's his name in the car. And
snap.
Takes
Peter Stormare.
Takes all that time to get to her. I like it when movies do that, actually. And the old
same,
weathered guy shows up in the last, maybe midway through the second act and changes things.
And I like John Goodman in this.
He's John Goodman, right? How can you not like him?
I don't know.
It's not the most.
It's a pretty stock in trade John Goodman role. Yeah. But like that's the thing.
It's
like
John Goodman in a Kevin Smith movie. You're not going to get all that much.
Yeah, but this is not what I would have thought when I thought of John Goodman in a Kevin Smith movie any more than you would have.
As far as
just what the expectations of him as an actor, what he's being asked to do. John Goodman's a pretty funny guy. He's not funny here. This in a lot of ways, John Goodman is being asked to play a immensely unlikable character. Like, I don't think you're supposed to like who he is. I think you're supposed to empathize with the situation that he's been put in, but I don't think you're supposed to like him. I don't know if I like his character. Kind of reminds me of his character from Kong Skull Island, where it's like, I'm just doing my job. Because like there is like part of that to John Goodman's character. He's like, I'm just doing my job. Like, I just want to get promoted, but I don't want to like kill people if I don't have to. But you heard the orders, son. Like,
that's where he stands, though, against that. What do they call it in the movie? Well, it's simple. It's supposed to be simple. Simple, just shit itself. That line is his line. Where this is just go in, take everybody out. We don't want any witnesses. We don't want it to blow back on us that we somehow fucked up
again.
But he stands against that. He's not cool with that from the beginning to the end, or else they would have shot all of the group members that come out at the end. And so, not saying he's likable necessarily, but he's standing against this idea of the government just doing whatever the fuck they want to do with extremist groups, because Waco blew up in their face and some, one other thing blew up
Ruby
in their
Ridge.
face. Yeah. So again, kind of heavy handed, Like, are they really giving orders, annihilate everybody so this doesn't blow up in our face? It's not a stretch to believe, and I know that plenty of people would believe that without question. But it's just, again, it's done without any kind of nuance in the film. And that's what sort of drives me nuts with him.
But if it were a different director, would you just say it's matter of fact? That's my question. Or is it like, oh, it's heavy handed because it's Kevin Smith and we know that he's heavy handed? That's my question. Because that's the thing. Well, if this weren't a Kevin Smith movie, I feel like some of my criticisms against this movie may be differently angled if it wasn't Kevin Smith. Because like the pithy dialogue is still there, but in a lot of ways, like it doesn't need to be. Like Kevin Pollak is in this movie the right amount. Like, I'm not saying I'm not a Kevin Pollak fan.
I like Kevin Pollak.
He is one of the.
I
you know what I'm going to say. He's one of those actors who's in small doses.
Yes, and I knew because I'm starting to think of like, so he's on the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and it's always better when it's just little doses of him.
He's a great character actor. He does a fantastic Chris Walken. Maybe the best Chris Walken impersonation other than Chris Walken himself. But for me, he's a great character actor.
Jay Moore. Come on, man.
Does Jay Moore do a good Kevin or Chris Walken?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's actually the first time I heard somebody do an impression of Christopher Walken. And I was like, oh my God.
Interesting. I do love Jay Moore. I'm a fan of Mafia, so that's why I'm a Jay Moore fan, and very little else. Kevin Pollak, also a podcaster, apparently, unbeknownst to me. But if you go and do a little research on Mr. Kevin Pollak, he also is anybody not a podcaster anymore? That's maybe a fucking better question to ask. I do also think that, outside of the people that we've talked about, supporting cast is fine. Kind of don't understand why Melissa Leo is in this movie. Like, I'm glad she's here. She always knows how to look that way. Yeah. She's a gorgeous woman. Like, and they always are just like, you gotta look like yesterday's like the hot shit. Like, come on. We're gonna give you the bangs and we'll make you just look rough.
I know. She does play that part well, though. This seems kind of fit for her, where she can be a little unhinged.
Yes.
And I was not surprised to see her as I always want to say wife, because it doesn't seem like there's that much difference in age between them. But it's what's his name?
Aben Cooper.
Aben, that's right. That's an interesting name. Aben Cooper. So she's his daughter.
Right.
And then her husband gets killed and then blah, blah, blah. I like it that no one's off limits. I do appreciate that about the movie. Fucking kill the kids that they kidnap. Kill
Kevin Pollak gets murdered pretty. Kevin Pollak's murder is pretty epic, frankly. Like
that was because, like I said, it's been a while since I watched it, so I didn't remember like any specific beats about the movie. I wouldn't have known who went first or anything like that. So those surprises surprised me again this time, and I appreciated that no one was off limits. And it also helped, like I said earlier, that I didn't give a shit about anybody in this movie. Any of the people, even Kyle Gallner, who has become a pretty big genre guy, especially in recent years. He was in like 4 horror movies last year or something.
He's Matt Lillard's cousin in Universe of Scream, isn't he? Isn't he like Stu's cousin?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't get all the connections with. Well, I think I even missed some of the connections with more of the main cast, or like, oh, that's so and so's sister or whatever.
Vince is the nephew of Stu Macher through his mother, who is Stu Macher's sister. So which is
Heather Matarazzo, right? Isn't that his sister?
No, that's Jamie Kennedy's sister.
Oh, okay, yes.
I don't think we ever saw Stu Macher's sister, which is weird because that should have talk about missed opportunities.
He's in Smile. He was in that Scream 5.
Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. He was like wasn't he like the main kid in that movie?
He's the sad goth boy in that. Yeah, I like him. I like seeing him show up and stuff. But I didn't really care if he did it or not. I wasn't. He lasts the longest, and I was like, he's most likely going to die too. I don't care if he's the one that makes it out of this mess. Don't care, because he seems like a little shit too. But maybe less than his friends, but still he's a shit.
Well, and that's the thing about the movie that I think that's the smartest thing, is showing us that even though these people have been taken hostage, like, they're still kind of shitheads. Like, look, they were just trying to get some ass. Like, doesn't mean you deserve to die, but you're shitheads though. Like, and like, that one friend left the other one. So maybe of all the people that deserved, he's the most deserving because he bailed on his friends. But like, yeah, Michael Angarano and Kyle Gallner just unceremoniously killed. Like, and it's, Kyle Gallner's is pretty fucked up. Like, it is fucked up. But again, like, I think it just further reinforces the direction the movie is heading. I will say, though, given what we know about the movie now, given what we know about the ending Kevin Smith wanted to do, all of the stuff kind of feels for naught. Doesn't it? Like, doesn't it just like, and that's the thing that pisses me off about this movie, is all of the fucked up shit, all of the severeness of the movie, the severity of what's going on screen ends up feeling for naught. It feels like a joke, like a gag. And I don't like that. I like that the ending of this movie was going to be something else, and financially they couldn't do it. And of all the reasons to not do something, financially is the reason that you can't get around, because this movie almost didn't exist financially to begin with. So we're not going to have this CGI fuckfest of a movie at the end. But, I'm just going to say you could have done something better than this, because this ending does always... Still, even now, as much as I appreciate this movie, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And it's not the kind of taste that you can get out by chewing a piece of gum either. It's a lingering bad taste that sticks for days, because the ending is just like, it's almost like mea culpa. I couldn't do the ending I wanted, so let me tell you a joke instead.
Yeah. As far as the severity of it goes, I actually appreciate that, again, only because he's trying to show us that both sides are as bad as the other. This extremist religious group taking out homosexuals and fornicators, and
even the ones that aren't, because those three kids aren't. I mean,
right. And it doesn't matter, because the stuff that they are doing is just as bad, is basically what Michael Parks says, almost as bad or nearly as bad. You were going to have sex with a woman. The three of you in one room were going to have sex with a woman. That's just as bad. That's in the Bible too.
Right.
Don't do that kind of shit. That's why Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed.
They don't distinguish, just like the U.S. government does, between the good and the bad. They don't care.
Right. So both sides are the same or as bad as the other. And that's the message I get from the fact that two of the boys get killed by ATF agents. And they also kill the daughter that's trying to leave. Her and Kyle Gallner together. That one tech ATF guy shoots the both of them, and that's our orders. So that's what I'm going to do. No witnesses. So I can kind of buy into that. Now, as far as the ending goes, I think I like the ending that they had to go with, more so than what they were planning on doing. And I'll let you explain what they were planning on doing. I watched the clip yesterday, but that's the first I'd ever really heard of it.
So the way the movie ends now is they've mentioned several times that the Cooper family of Cooper's Dell have essentially isolated themselves in a valley against any people that would be coming to fuck with them or take their land or anything. And so, wouldn't you know it, but apparently, unbeknownst to us, the audience, but known to John Goodman, apparently, throughout the film, is there were a group of, I guess at the end of the film, there's a group of college kids who the Coopers had been feuding with because they had made a compost heap that smelled really bad. And so the Coopers and these college kids were feuding back and forth. And so at the end of the movie, thinking it would be funny, they played the trumpet blast that come to signal the rapture.
From my nightmares that we talked about on Knock at the Cabin.
Right, exactly, which is what made me think of this movie 1-to-1. At the end of the movie, we hear trumpet blasts, and they come out of nowhere. Michael Parks and his family hear these, wah, wah, and it's the moment in the movie where all of a sudden you think the movie is like going somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And it's the moment where this movie could have pivoted in a really strange direction. Now, we'll talk about the real ending here in a moment. But the ending, as Kevin Smith had more or less laid out in his head, was, I guess the rapture does happen. And John Goodman, while he's being yelled at by Ibn Cooper, passes out, comes to. All of the parishioners that are left start exploding, their heads and chests exploding, which, look, precedent for that is not unknown. If you've seen Dogma, he does it in Dogma. He literally does that to Matt Damon and Ben Affleck in that movie. Or at least Ben Affleck gets his chest and brain blown up. So this is precedent set in Kevin Smith movies for this happening. They start exploding, and then all of a sudden John Goodman sees an angel descend and kill one of the lasting parishioners, and then puts his finger up to his mouth as the four horsemen of the apocalypse ride by, signaling the rapture, which my wife pointed out to me directly because we watched the kind of animated ending together, so that I was like, so I want you to understand where the movie ends up going. Could have gone. She goes, well, then wouldn't it make the Coopers right? And I was like, well, I guess so. I mean, in a way.
But they're killed, but they're taken out. They're not
killed
raptured.
Anyways. Right.
They're not raptured.
Right.
They're sent to hell. That's what the angel is doing. He's condemning them. John Goodman is left.
Right. So that's not the ending we got. The ending we got is we have Michael Parks confronting John Goodman, and then instead of the angels showing up,
nothing happens.
Nothing happens. It cuts to 1 week later, and John Goodman is being grilled by muckety mucks in
Patrick Fischler, my man.
Good old Patrick Fischler.
I love Patrick Fischler.
He's being grilled by ATF muckety mucks all about what actually happened that day at Cooper's Dell. And yeah, we find out that it was the trumpet blasts were a gag. And then John Goodman tells a story like Tommy Lee Jones tells at the end of No Country for Old Men that summarizes the entire film without even saying it. Isn't that that's what it reminded me of, this watch? I was like, boy, that feels like No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, it's a little less elegant than that, though.
But it's the same thinking, right? I'm going to tell a story that speaks to the themes of the movie directly.
And I got to say, the explanation of how these eco kids, hippies, and they find this old, that giant fire alarm thing at an old fire station that they were getting rid of, and they haul it back. And I'm like, this is clunky as fuck, man.
You know what Kevin Smith would probably say, and I this would be my response: truth is stranger than fiction. Yeah. That's what I would say.
Speaking of vocal devices, I like his chintzy ass whatchamacallit that he uses. It's like a toy.
Yeah, like louds, like the little speakerphone.
What the hell are they called?
Calm down here.
It's not the big white, those things that the cops have, or
it's not the one Frank Drebin uses.
I believe it was Kevin Smith's. He uses that at home to bark orders around at his family or something. You couldn't find a fucking, what are they called? Why can't either of us think of what they're called? Megaphone. Yeah, it's a chintzy little toy megaphone.
Come on out, Ibn Cooper.
And no one will get hurt.
I repeat. It's the I repeat that always gets him. So that's the thing. Kevin Smith's dialogue, about things that we've never seen characters in his movies do, it's still funny. I'm not sure it needs to be there. I think back on moments in Tusk where it's like, Oh, I find it funny. Okay. Like it's for me.
Yeah,
like, and that's the thing. Like maybe I am Kevin Smith's target audience. I'm just not as much as I used to be. But I was self-admitted, like I stood in line to meet the guy at a Comic-Con and was very disappointed when he didn't show up. It was a long story. He showed up later and we just like fucking left because we'd waited for 5 hours or some shit. But I'm a Kevin Smith fan. Like I'm not gonna pretend I'm not. So it hits with me, but some of the dialogue in this movie would 100% be eye rolling. And like, just like the story at the end of the movie is right in that same wheelhouse of just masturbatory dialogue, which nobody does better than Kevin Smith or Tarantino. Like, I'm sorry, but they know how to write really clever masturbatory dialogue. They really do.
And I'm a fan of him, not necessarily of his movies. I'm, like I said at the beginning, I'm glad he's able to do what he does. But I prefer this ending because we haven't really been leading up to, I don't think that rapture ending is earned in the rest of the film.
That's fair.
Because it's not really a suicide cult. They're not portrayed that way. Obviously they're storing up guns, but that's that's more, when the government comes to get us, which happens in the movie.
I was going to say, well,
right. So that makes sense, but I think they could have, that ending would work if they had hit more on, these are the end times. 100% these are the end times. We're coming close. The countdown is nigh.
Right.
Like they have it fucking marked on their calendar or something.
The writing is on the
like
wall.
That. But it's really just that idea of all these groups always think it's the end times.
But is the rapture is the question I have though, and again, this is an ideological question. Is the rapture not happening the day that the ATF shows up and raids their compound? Is that not technically their rapture in their minds? Like, that's my question. Like, is the rapture actually a real thing that affects all of us, or is it their rapture that happens the day they're finally raided? And therefore it never, you know what I mean? Like the Phelps family, the rapture never came for them. Fred Phelps dropped dead, but it's not like ATF ever showed up. Waco, on the other hand, like the rapture happened.
Is that their personal rapture? They could view it that way.
But they should have reinforced it throughout the movie more. And I think to your point,
way,
it needs to be there more. And even I think to your point, if it maybe it was there more and they cut it out on the editing room floor because the ending that they wanted, they couldn't get. I don't want to say that much because that feels like a cop out, but like there are moments in this movie where you could see like the scene going a little longer or them maybe having a different thing to say as opposed to homosexuality specifically. It's other things. Like I wonder, and like, well, look, that's a movie we can only think about, never conceive, but like I do wonder, maybe was there some of that give and take, and it's not like they approved the script with the ending the way it was and they just changed it the day of and it's like, oh, scrap the giant angel shot. It's like they knew they had to change the ending from the moment they went to shoot the movie. So I wonder if it just got changed, like a lot of the rapture stuff got taken out, so it's like more of a bait and switch and less of like an earned ending.
I think it would still work though with this ending if you had more of it, because then it's like, oh, you're thinking as an audience member, is this really happening like they said it was going to happen?
Yeah.
And it's not that. I'm not thinking about the rapture though during the movie, even with the comments about the end times. He talks about natural disasters, and it's always, I hear this when these earthquakes and things happen in specifically Middle Eastern countries, like that's God's condemnation of that area. And you're like, well, we have plenty of fucking earthquakes here. Of course, they happen in San Francisco, so they can point to that and go. Or he mentions the flooding in New Orleans, which is one of the most sinful cities in the world. So there are little bits and pieces of it. I think more of it would make the ending hit harder. Like, oh yeah, you fucking buy into this shit. Perfect timing. Thanks, Eco Compost guys, for doing that, because they were geared up for it and it brought them out. without their weapons because they had nothing to fear.
Right.
And it's not really that. That to me would hit a little bit harder. I don't know if that rapture ending, man. I don't know if they had gone with that. I don't know that it would work. It would be one of those fun, like, oh, ha ha ha, ATF guys, these nutballs were right. But they don't get raptured. They get destroyed by an angel.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what the exploding is the invisible knife going through their hearts and their heads.
Right. You know, I liked that there is an alternate ending to this movie. I think it's a little unfair in a lot of ways to people who have watched the movie to say, well, there's this other ending that we wanted to do, and it's a complete fucking 180. Like, this is so far from the reality that this movie presents. Like, all of a sudden angels start showing up and shit. Like, whoa, wait, time out. Wait, this actually happened? Like, in a lot of ways, I am with you. Like, 100%, it would not have been earned if it had happened because the movie is going in a completely different direction. But I would like to have seen it. But I will say, yeah, the ending as it works now is kind of, in a lot of ways, the perfect ending for the movie, because the movie, in a lot of ways, is about not giving the audience what they want. We don't get to see the heroes survive. They all get gunned down. We don't get to see John Goodman's character. Again, he does what they say, and then he doesn't do what they say, and he still gets promoted anyway. So, like, right. Even our hero gets a quote hero gets the benefit of doing the right and wrong thing. So his moral compass, who knows which direction it's spinning. And yeah, there are some people left. So even the villains survive the movie, quote unquote, the villains. So it's ultimately, in a lot of ways, like, the movie's intentionally unsatisfying. And I think maybe, just maybe, it is the perfect ending for this movie, to just tell the audience to go fuck themselves. Like, because in a lot of ways it totally is. Like, it's all those, you know, screw the audience jokes from The Simpsons, right? Where it's like, you're expecting one thing and it's something completely different. And no, it is that different thing. And this is not a bit. Like, that's what it is. Like, yeah, like, in a lot of ways, the movie deserved this kind of 100% subversive ending. Because, yeah, like, all the hoops it has to jump through are such bullshit. Like, and it was college kids with a compost heap, and then they got it's like, how much further does this go? Like, is this just a lie you caught yourself in? Like, who, like, what, it was Mad Libs at this point? Because at some point it feels like it's supposed to be a joke, and it's just, you're like standing at the edge of the cliff looking over and you don't jump. And that's where this movie is. It's like, it's gone as far as it can go without going over the edge. And Kevin Smith knows that. And I think, again, it's going to work for every third person in the room. If that, it's not going to work for everybody. Clearly. I think more people would have been satisfied if it had been the aliens, pretty much angels coming down from the sky and killing people. I think more people would like this movie if that had been the ending. Like, it would have been more of a mainstream success.
Chariots of the gods, my friend.
Eric Von Daniken shows up. It's true. They're all blue-eyed and blonde-haired too, which would be which, you know, I mean, hey, you know, for that group of people, fine. I like this movie. I'm glad we rewatched it, but it is not an apocalypse movie.
Yeah, I think the ending either way is tacked on and an easy way to wrap things up. Like, how do we get out of this without actually just killing everybody? And I like the idea of rapture stuff, just because, like I said, I had those nightmares when I was a kid. And I think one of the best shows in the last 20 years, The Leftovers, which deals with the rapture in a very, very interesting way.
I had that on before we started, because I've never seen it before.
Oh, man. Yeah. My wife and I ate that show up, man.
Yashar, who we did Crimes of the Future with, that is his favorite show of all time. And he talked about it on the Last of Us podcast, about how much he likes it. So
it is definitely one, like I just said, one of the best shows of the last 20 years. Hands down.
That would make it one of the best shows of all time, dude.
Amazing cast. Everybody. I love Carrie Coon. She's outstanding in it. Justin Theroux. That crazy lady.
Justin Theroux. There you go. Connection back. That's Louis Theroux's cousin. No shit. Yeah. Yeah. Louis Theroux, man.
Fantastic show.
Yeah. Louis Theroux and all them.
Show.
Yeah. I need to actually sit down and watch it because I'm only in like the first half an hour. It's interesting.
The girl that's in Scream, the last 2 Scream movies, and Yellow Jackets is in it when she's younger. Regina Hall. Yeah, it's really good, and it's a really fascinating concept. And I won't spoil it, obviously, but the end is pretty satisfying.
Interesting. And the end is satisfying on a Damon Lindelof thing.
Yeah, it's satisfying, and well, no, you know what? I won't say anything else about it because it could be kind of spoilery. Yeah, it's a very compelling show.
And I think that was on around what? This was 2011, so Leftovers was around this time, right? A couple years.
It's been a while since it was out. So was it 4 seasons?
3.
Oh, just 3?
Yep.
$2014.
The point of reference why we talked about this movie was the trumpets, of your dreams. Look, I think if nothing else, that scene at the end of the movie where the trumpets start blaring is really intense. It kind of calls back to the intensity of the earlier parts of the movie that I was talking about with Michael Angarano running around the compound. It calls back to that intensity because if the rapture were to happen the way they claim it will or whatever the hell, it would just be that where it just happens. And all of a sudden you're like, what is happening? I don't understand. And like
horrifying. It would be horrifying.
They capture that moment in this movie really well. If they capture nothing else, they capture some scenes of like genuine intensity that I think, again, real people have had to, deal with, like people in Waco, because again, we have some interesting scenes between Michael Parks and Melissa Leo at the window when they're shooting back at the ATF, which is like, I mean, anything with the two of them is pretty great. I mean, most of this movie, the character stuff is really good. The character interactions is great. I don't think the movie overstays its welcome. It's literally almost barely even a feature film. It's an hour and 28 minutes or 38 minutes. But hey, I don't know. It's still weird to me that it's a Kevin Smith movie. It stands out even more than Tusk does.
That's why I think I had no concept that he had done a movie like that until my friend mentioned it. He's like, yeah, did you know that Kevin Smith made this movie called Red State that's all about, I don't know why, if it was an end times thing that we had been discussing that brought it to his mind or what. It's like, oh yeah, we should watch it, or you should watch it. And I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. I haven't really been interested in anything he's done in years, so why not?
And
yeah, I'm looking at the cast list for The Leftovers right now. You should look at it. It's just fucking stacked.
Ghostbusters Afterlife's Carrie Coon, I've been told. That's how she's.
I like her a lot. She's in seasons of what's the show with Bill Pullman?
Oh,
The Sinner.
Yeah,
is she in one of the seasons of that? Yes, I believe she is. Yeah, Regina King. Regina King. I knew I was not saying the right name.
I do love me some Bill Pullman.
Yeah, Bill Pullman's great. He's great in that series too. That's another very good series, especially that first season, man.
The Jessica Biel show?
Yeah. The season with her is warped.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
I'll have to watch it. It's been one of those things that Netflix has been suggesting to me forever. So
I think that's my favorite. The first season is my favorite. It's pretty twisted, and Christopher Abbott's in it, who I like. Jessica Biel's really good in it. Hey, Stephen Williams is in The Leftovers, for fuck's sake. All kinds of people. Great show. Great. Good stuff.
Actually scratching your post-apocalyptic itch, unlike this movie. Again,
totally.
I say that, but yet, like, the last third of this movie kind of has to do with the expectation of the apocalypse happening. I mean, the entire final 15 minutes of the movie is all about the apocalypse and the rapture. So, and is Aben Cooper in heaven at the end of the movie? No, he's in prison, but the best part of this movie is Kevin Smith screaming at him at the end of the movie, "Shut up!" As if we don't recognize it's you screaming at him, Kevin Smith. We know your voice, sir. If there's anything about Kevin Smith we know, it's his voice.
I love that it's just an exasperated, shut the fuck up. I'm so tired of hearing you sing, man.
Yeah, singing your fucking Looney Tunes songs. You know, I'm excited if we do end up talking about Tusk, kind of seeing, because I haven't seen that fucking movie since it came out effectively.
I haven't either. So it's 10 years now, I think.
Yeah, well,
Isn't that 2013?
13 or 14, I think. It's
that's an A24 film, if you can believe it.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's like the A24 film nobody will claim. I fucking unabashedly love that movie. And I watched it so many times when it came out on I owned it on fucking Blu-ray.
I've only seen it the one time, and I've been meaning to go back to it because I don't think I was quite prepared for where it went.
I knew
what the storyline was, but it went left when I would have gone right. See,
you remember the ending of the movie, right?
Oh yeah.
The ending of that movie makes me laugh every time. Like,
and Justin Long is a podcaster, and at the time I saw that movie, I had no idea what podcasters did.
I do like that he was. Yeah, that movie came out like right at the beginning of my podcasting career beginning. So it was like, oh, he's a podcaster getting murdered by Michael Parks. Okay, like I'm game.
He's good at playing self-aggrandizing dickheads.
He really
does that in that new one too.
Barbarian.
Yeah.
Still haven't seen it.
It's all right.
That's what I've heard.
It didn't tickle my taint like it did for so many other people.
Everybody's grundles were getting grabbed real hard by that movie.
Gooch. It got him in the gooch.
Got him in the gooch real hard. So, Mr. Begley, final thoughts on Red State.
I enjoyed it both times I watched it. It's unsubtle and unnuanced and whatever, like most of Kevin Smith's films, but stacked up to a lot of his other movies, it is a lot more even keeled. And I do like the idea of those kind of groups. I like movies about extreme religious groups, and I also like that. I appreciate that in this movie, no one's off limits. I could have very easily seen John Goodman dying in this film as well. Kind of surprised he makes it, but so I appreciate that. And it's worth a look. It's a different Kevin Smith film. If you don't like stuff like Zach and Miri Make a Porno or whatever the fuck that one movie is called, then maybe you would like this.
Damn, Mark.
I've never even seen that movie. I didn't even realize it was his movie until yesterday.
That's a pretty fun one. Justin Long has a great bit part where he says, and I quote, "I'll be your Sherpa up the mountain of gayness." and he's doing like his like very low Justin Long voice too. I don't know how else to describe it.
I like Justin Long. We used to watch Ed. I don't know if you are familiar with that TV show he was on years ago. And that was my first exposure to him. And I've liked him ever since.
Mine was Galaxy Quest.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Where he plays like the Star Trek nerd.
That was a long time ago too, huh?
Yeah. I just remember him playing like the nerdy character. I was like, yeah, it kind of works. Yeah.
Yeah. He's pretty much a nerd in Ed too, I believe.
Yeah. He's great. I'm looking, man, we're going to get to talk about a Justin Long movie at some point. That's exciting.
There's always Jeepers Creepers.
Oh yeah. Someday, man. I would love to talk about that movie. I really would.
All except the latest one. I didn't realize what was going on with that movie until years later. I don't think any
of us fucking knew. I don't think any of us would have supported it if we had known. It's such a shame because it's such a good goddamn movie too.
That was I had the internet obviously, but I didn't know about every person's personal life at every moment of the day at that time still.
If you watch this movie and talk about it, you support this. Not the fucking case. Yeah. Not the fucking case. Just like if you watch a movie about the Westboro Baptist people being murdered, doesn't mean I agree with them being murdered, which is the case with this movie. And I like this movie just fine. I mean, again, I think to your point, it's a Kevin Smith movie that stands apart from all the other stuff that he's done. And you know what? In a lot of ways, I think he as a director kind of needed that. I mean, at the time that this movie came out, it was kind of at a lull and he was just kind of the Clerks guy, like, the funny guy. So
the funny guy that wears weird clothes. Ha ha ha. Let's all laugh at Kevin Smith.
Yeah. Like that was him. And he is not that now. And, there's possibly a sequel to Tusk coming out, which as someone who's a fan of that movie, I hope so. And, more Kevin Smith stuff is never going to be unappreciated by me. I just need to get around to watching it. So this movie is the same. I saw it when it came out. I remember watching it that summer on DVD. I thought it was fun then. I think it's fun now. The snafu with the ending is what it is. And maybe if you had another ending, just don't mention it. Just don't say what it was.
Just tell me about it.
Don't tell me about it. But, ultimately it's a weird little movie that I think exists in a weird time and a place where these kind of things were being talked about a lot more mainstream. And now it's like, we're past mainstream with this stuff. We've evolved from the quaint pastoral nature of them saying God hates fags to things that are so much worse that it's like God hates fags really seems pedestrian now, like in a really disgusting way. So, I think Red State was a product of the time and maybe a harbinger of things to come even. So
it definitely hasn't gotten any better. That has creeped into more mainstream evangelical churches.
Yeah. Yeah. This movie came out, I think, 10 years after Jesus Camp did, but you can see the through line from something like that to something like this. And it hasn't gotten any better. And now it's ever present all the time, everywhere, because certain things aren't unmixed anymore. They're mixed permanently and can't be separated, as they would say, though there should have been a separation, and there was supposed to be at one point. But yeah, I don't know, it feels oddly prescient in a way. And I think if this movie came out now, I think people would be, I think what's funny is if this movie came out now, people would be pissed, like proper angry, and like in the way that it probably wasn't then. Like if you look at the backlash, there was backlash from the Phelps family, but who gives a shit? Who cares? Boo fucking who? But
I saw that and I'm like, wouldn't you just ignore this if you were that group? You're doing exactly what Kevin Smith wants. And I like that he, interviewed groups, protesters that would show up. He called them on stage and had a chat with them.
Yeah.
That's great. Most people would just be like, get them the fuck out of here.
Fuck you.
but I like, why would you just not ignore this? Why would you? Whatever.
I would.
Fuck those people.
That would be me. I would fucking ignore it. So I'm with you. Ultimately, at the end of the day, like this movie coming out when it did, I wish it had come out sooner or like more recently, more contemporarily, because I think this movie's impact might have been read a different way, especially about the way we should treat these kinds of people. Because the thing I do want to mention as we close this episode out, the thing that we didn't bring up is the reasoning that Patrick Fischler's character gives as to why they wanted all of them killed. It's because he just doesn't fucking like them.
Because fuck them.
But the funny thing is that mentality, like John Goodman's character even says it. He's like, if we all turn on one another, we're no better than the animals are, right? Like ultimately, if we don't understand it, and it's like, ultimately John Goodman, yeah, maybe is a little bit of a hero, as fucking strange as that may be.
But you know what? These days, I don't think him and the other muckety muck, they would probably be people that are more in tune with what this group is talking about, to be honest with you.
Right.
Just think of who's being voted into office these days. They hold many of these views. Now, they're not voted into office, obviously, but they work for the government. And administrations have interesting ways of getting these people into these types of higher up jobs. So,
right. Yeah,
it wouldn't be a matter of fuck them. I hate these nuts, and be like, oh, I kind of agree with Abe and Cooper.
Right. Exactly. So no, it came out in a time and a place where it could kind of come out the way that it did. And I think if it came out now, it would be a very different movie. So it's very much of a time and of a place and of a feeling in the world, at least our corner of the world. So until the next time you and I do one of these, Mark, which may be Tusk, who knows, maybe not. Where can people find you? If they're not already looking for you. Knock. I hear you in there. Come out, Begley. You can't hide inside forever.
I just heard trumpets outside. You can find me at Wake Up Heavy Recollections of Horror on Weird and Way Media. And I'm going to plug my other show, which Chris mentioned early on in this episode, Cambridge and with Sean. Also on weirdingwaymedia.com. Having a lot of fun recording that with my friend Ronnie, who is the guy that I saw this movie with, I think, or he suggested it to me, and definitely saw Tusk with, and lots of other crazy stuff. So check that one out. Everything's up at weirdingwaymedia.com. And how about you, Mr. Big Round Balls?
Hey, it's me, Mr. Big Round Balls.
It's my favorite line for Wild at Heart.
weirdingwaymedia.com is where you can find all the bullshit that I work on, including this show and so many other shows where I get to share my opinion on the internet and you get to listen if you like. So weirdingwaymedia.com is where you can go. But if you want to hear other people's opinions, that's also the place you would go, like Twisted and Uncorked, 80s TV Ladies, Filmentaries, Feminine Critique. I could continue, but you should finish for me and just head on over to weirdingwaymedia.com. As for this show, culturecast.com, patreon.com/culturecast. I will keep saying it because that is part of this. So I will say it at the end of every episode, even if I'm sick and fucking tired of saying it. I've done this 500 fucking times. Don't you think I'm sick of this too? I bet you're sick of hearing it. Patreon.com/culturecast. Yep, you can go there, but rate and review the show wherever you get it. Begley, Mark, Begley, Mark.
Hey, I've got a Patreon too. You can listen to shows early and ad free.
Look at that.
Patreon.com/wakeuphheavy.
He doesn't say that as much as I do, so you should go to his Patreon too. And as for this show, yeah, Begley, thank you so much for joining me. This was fun. Somebody's coming for you, man.
The light keeps changing and I'm going, what's going on outside?
Yeah, thank you for joining me. This was fun.
Yeah.
And as
any time, maybe. On the movie. Depending on the movie.
Yeah, I do know that. And as always, we'll catch you on the next episode.